Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pocatello. Good morning, Idaho Falls. Can everybody hear me, including Idaho Falls?
We hear you in Idaho Falls.
Okay. Again, this is the electrical engineering part, the last part of the presentations for the ENGR 120. I guess they kept the best one for the last. There is a yellow pad going around for the sign-up sheet. And this is the first session in the electrical engineering, so I'm just going to go through what the electrical engineering is all about. I'm sure you have heard about other disciplines, and there are many engineering disciplines as well as the computer science. And we have also some other presenters here that I will introduce them. And just want to start it by talking about the field of electrical engineering. One obvious one is the power area. Of course, you have computers, and at home, every place you see, without electric power, we all have to go home. Nothing can be done. Everything depends on the electric power. Unfortunately or fortunately, there is a big demand for the power engineers, the electrical engineers that they work in the power area, power electronics area. But again, that's one of the areas covered within the electrical engineering. The other one is electronics. For example, wireless communications and all the computers, all the chips. This is so-called the microelectronics area of electrical engineering. But electrical engineering, I guess, similar to mechanical engineering, is a very big field, so it's hard to cover all these different applications in, say, 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. But we'll try to give you some idea what the electrical engineering is all about, again, this week and then 2 weeks after the Thanksgiving break. In a minute, I will introduce other presenters, but I just want to show you some typical numbers. These are I don't have this one on the slides, but these are the BLS. If you go to the bls.gov, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they talk about the number of engineers and different engineering disciplines, including computer science, computer engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, nuclear engineering, and so forth. And as far as the job opportunities, they are talking about some of the data is taken between 2006, but they're projecting into 2016. And they said, again, back in 2006, there were roughly 1.5 million jobs available in the engineering field. Of course, engineering, they list here civil engineers, mechanical engineers, industrial engineers. I don't think we have, I assume we don't have industrial engineering majors. But then they mention electrical engineers, electronic. I mentioned electronic engineers. And again, as far as the number of jobs, if you combine electrical engineers and electronic engineers, there are 291,000 out of that 1.5 million jobs, close to 300,000 jobs that there are in electrical engineering field. But again, electrical engineering is also combined with electronics. It has some relation to computer. For example, some of the subjects in electrical engineering are the same as for the computer engineering majors. So there's some overlap between EE, so-called EE, which usually stands for electrical engineering or electronics engineering. I guess outside the US, the language is used mostly electronic engineer, but in the US is the electrical engineering EE. And of course, everybody worries about to get a degree in engineering, whether electrical, mechanical, civil, what will be the job opportunities, especially when I start, what are the starting salaries. Again, there are a lot of data here on the bls.gov web page, but because the lectures are only 50 minutes and we have so many different topics to cover, I'm just going to go through them very rapidly. They talk about average starting salary by engineering degrees. This was the year after that, the year 2007. And the highest paid engineers as they graduate, these are again average starting salaries, they're just fresh from the college. Anybody can guess who are the highest paid engineers as far as the starting salaries? If you look around, gas prices were going up and oil prices, sure enough, oil engineers, actually they're called petroleum engineers. They're highest paid. I think they figured, again, these are a couple of years old because the Bureau doesn't have it every year. They do it statistically every few years. So the highest paid engineers were petroleum engineers, about $60,000 starting salary with the bachelor's degrees, $60K. But I mean, that is obvious because the oil companies, they have a lot of money, they can pay high salaries. But almost right after that, electrical, electronics, communications. That's another field within electrical engineering, telecommunication, communications, cell phones and satellite communications, computer engineers, electrical engineers, they are after the petroleum engineers, starting salaries about $56,000, $57,000. Again, those are a couple of years old, so if you're negotiating for salaries, say, well, these numbers are 2 years old, maybe every year we get some raise and they go higher. So that is the job market, and the projection is that at least the field will grow by 10% by 10 years, which they started from 2006, so by 2016, the market will increase by 10%. Of course, you go from different location, whether you're in Idaho, whether you're in West Coast or you're East Coast. Before coming to Idaho, I was in Michigan, and there were a lot of companies that were laying off engineers. On the other hand, if you look at for example, automotive industry, they're talking about electric cars, hybrid vehicles. And if everybody goes electric, all the cars become electric, where are you going to find electrical engineers? I mentioned there is already a shortage of power engineers, but also the automotive engineers that they will use electrical engineering expertise, they will be in demand because there's a push to go in that direction. So again, this is a very exciting field, and there are a lot of opportunities in electrical engineering. But again, in about 2 or 3 weeks, it's hard to cover everything. And I have some slides. I don't know whether I will have time to go through all my slides or not. Unfortunately, this semester, 120 has 2 sessions, Mondays and Wednesdays. Wednesdays is exactly the same time as my department meeting time. So I will not be here on Wednesday, but my colleague, Mr. Kenyon Hart, will be here, and he will actually conduct the rest of the ENGR 120 sessions. But feel free to come and see me if you need anything, any advice in the electrical engineering, computer engineering, also to some extent computer science. Our department, as you can see here, is merged with the computer science. Now we are Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. I understand Dr. Bosworth was here, Dr. Tappan, they have already talked about the computer science, so we'll kind of focus on the electrical engineering. but there's a lot of overlap between computer engineering, computer science, electrical engineering. It's almost like if you're mechanical engineering, you will have some overlap maybe with civil engineering or maybe with nuclear engineering. So there is some overlap between electrical, computer engineering, computer science, and electronics engineering majors. So let me at this time introduce a couple of other people that will be helping us in the electrical engineering part. The first one is Mr. Kenyon Hart. Kenyon is in the back of the room. And Kenyon will be here for the rest of the sessions, and I will show, if I have time, there's a slide about the grading for the double E part, basically weekly reports. What do you have, Kenyon? Also presentation at the end. Is it a PowerPoint presentation? So there will be weekly summary report. Instead of doing every Monday or Monday, just wait until Wednesday. So every week write a summary of the presentations for that week. And then at the end of the semester, a current topic in electrical engineering, application of electrical engineering. I mentioned already a couple of them, smart grids, as far as the engineering, power electronics, or in the field of transportation. For example, I was in my class earlier this morning, I was talking about magnetic levitation trains, otherwise known as maglev. So there are some mass transit systems that they'll be using the technology learned by electrical engineers. So there are many applications also in the medicine, in the biomedical area, biosensors. A lot of them, they require the knowledge from electrical engineering. But again, Kenyon will talk more about it, what kind of topics you can write your presentation about, and also submit the PowerPoint presentation to Kenyon by the end of the semester. The other one is that I mentioned about the job market. Just in the city of Pocatello, we have On Semiconductor, used to be called AMI. For example, embedded microprocessors, micro ovens, all the biomedical sensors, they all have the electronic chips embedded into them, into those systems. And of course, I forgot, it's like On is now number 4 or number 5 as far as microelectronics and VLSI. Of course, the first one is possibly Intel. But in the case of On Semiconductor, there are some job opportunities in the Pocatello area. They also have some internship opportunities. We have Idaho Power and many other companies also in Pocatello as well as in the Idaho Falls. So I have also Miriam Dance here. Actually, Miriam is part of you. She's taking the class herself this semester. Miriam is our student services, public relations, staff person at the College of Engineering. We also have Troy Case from the Student Employment Services. Troy has all the information, as well as Miriam, about job opportunities. Not only after you graduate, while you're on campus, there are some internships, summer jobs, and so forth. So at this time, let me turn it over. Miriam, do you want to go first, or Troy? I want to turn it over to Troy Case from the Student Employment Services to talk about job opportunities, as well as giving him your resumes and CVs. Troy?
Yeah, I'm Troy Case from the Career Center. Let me tell you a little bit about what we do there in the Career Center. So we work with students from self-discovery on up to the job search process. So some of you sitting in this class, you know, no offense to any of the instructors, but at the end of this, you might say, I don't want to do this. This is not my cup of tea. I want to look at other different careers. So you might come and see us. We've got career counselors on staff that can help you look at different things. You might actually be looking at different areas within engineering too, and say, well, you know, where are my interests? How does my personality fit these? What are my abilities, and where do my values lie? And we can help you with some of that information. And then discovering more about these occupations. We'll get easy access to some of the BLS stuff. One program that we use is called the Discover program. It's something that we pay money for every year, and it actually accesses the BLS information that was spoken about earlier. So you can get on there and you can say, okay, well, what does what does an electrical engineer make in Idaho? What does an electrical engineer make in Utah? Look at that information. You can see national information. You can see the projected outlook. If any of you have ever gotten on the BLS website, you'll know I think it's hard to find stuff on the BLS website. If you get on the Discover website, they make it pretty easy because they know, hey, these are students using this and this is what they're looking for. This is how they want to find it. They do a really nice job of taking that information and putting it into a nice organized way so that you can find that. So some good information in our office, some good resources to help you discover more about yourself, more about those occupations. We can also help you out when it comes time to look for those jobs. We actually host the career fairs. We host one each semester. We're probably going to end up the Idaho Falls folks will like this. We're going to start alternating, having one in Pocatello, one in Idaho Falls. That's something that Idaho Falls has pushed for a while, so I think we've kind of figured out a way to do that now. And we'll bring in the recruiters too. I mean, of course, things are a little slow right now, but we bring in the recruiters. You guys are all sitting in here at a good time because it'll be a while till you graduate, and we hope the job market has picked up by then. You'll give it some time, and hopefully things will be better by then. And we're glad to help you out with that job search process, the resume reviews, the practice interviews, the networking, getting you connected with employers, because you might say, well, yeah, I want to go to, really want to look at ON Semiconductor there. So who do I contact up there? Rather than just applying to this black hole of online applications, who do I contact? Well, come and chat with us because we can get you connected with a lot of folks out there. We've got a lot of past recruiters, a lot of folks that still are recruiters that maybe chose to either come to ISU last year, maybe didn't come this year. We can connect you with those folks. So use us. We can help you out with that job search process. What else would you like me to cover?
The seminars, we have like on Fridays. One speaker this Friday, Dr. Shank.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, so the electrical engineers, is it the student group that does that, or is it?
These are Fridays, 1 o'clock in the room 7 actually.
Okay. So Fridays at 1 o'clock. Sounds like room 7. I'm not sure where room 7 is here, but you wander around enough and you'll locate that. Really good information because they bring in professionals and to talk about the different areas of electrical engineering. I've personally attended a few of those, and I think it's very valuable for you guys to come and do that. For one thing, you're learning about the occupation. Another, you are networking. You're getting connected. That's 70% of people get their job through who they know. So expand that network. Right now, in a tough economy, I would imagine that percentage is much higher than 70%. Any questions you all have? And Idaho Falls too, we've got somebody in Idaho Falls that'll help you with the same information that we've talked about there. Yeah.
What are the hours at the Career Center?
Hours are your standard 8 to 5 hours, but you know, somebody said I can't make it in during that time. We can figure out a way to help you outside of those hours too. It'd be tough to get us here on a Saturday, but any other questions? Anything else? Okay.
I never can get this thing to work right, so hopefully this will work. Okay, so let me extend my introduction a little bit. My name is Miriam Dance. I work for the College of Engineering, so I'm not exactly with the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. I am employed by the entire college. I do a variety of things for the college. A lot of those things have to do with interacting with students and interacting with the public. For example, I often introduce the new or prospective students to the College of Engineering. We go on tours, show them the facilities, talk about some of the programs that we have to offer here at the College of Engineering, and just kind of get you familiar with what's going on. I also give you a lot of information about scholarships, help connect you with things like internships, like Troy Case just talked about. We work closely as far as making sure that both the College of Engineering knows about the engineering internships, as well as the Career Center knows about the internships that I hear about, so that there is a lot of coordination. So regardless of where you go, you get the same information so you can get those internships. And basically anything else that you need information about, I can be an information source for you. If you're wondering where to go or who to talk to, or if you need information about a financial aid issue or something like that, you can talk to me if you want a starting point, and I can direct you in the right place so that it saves you a little bit of time, a little bit of footwork, and gets you there a little bit quicker. One of the most fun things that I do is I get to help plan events. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more in a couple of minutes, but I really like the fact that I get to help organize and coordinate with the student organizations to provide events for students that are in the College of Engineering, and as well as students that come and visit our campus from other high schools or middle schools or other colleges sometimes. This is my first time sitting through 120, and I think that it's been great that we've had so many faculty members coming through. I had no idea that there was such a faculty involvement in teaching this class, and I think that I can easily say that you have seen more than 50% of the faculty in the College of Engineering. And that's great for you, because especially those of you who are freshmen, and I know that there are some seniors in this class, but those of you who are freshmen, it's great to now have a face with a name. You might be registering for a class next semester, and you'll see the name on the list, and now you'll know who that is, for the most part, in the College of Engineering, and I think that's really nice. The other thing that I think is really nice about that is how many of you have not met your advisors yet? And I can only really see, I can kind of see Idaho Falls and Pocatello in this room, so go ahead and raise your hands. Who has not met their advisor? Okay, there's a few of you. Did any of you see those in, as your advisor come through when the faculty were giving their presentations? Okay, so I see a few nods, I see a few shakes. Well, here's the great thing. The nodding part, at least you know who your advisor is now. The shaking your head, I can introduce you to your advisor. So if you don't know who your advisor is and want to know, still talk to me and I will set up an appointment for you to meet your faculty advisor. Those of you who haven't met your advisor but at least now know who your advisor is, I think that that's really great and definitely one of the advantages to this class. Here's my advice to all of you, regardless of whether you have or have not met your advisor. Get to know your advisor well. They will help you get through this whole adventure of education. It can be really tricky. There's a lot of things you need to know as far as how a system works, what your degree is, what the courses are, when to take the classes, and your advisor is the best source of information for that. Also, another thing with getting along or getting to know your advisor is I would meet with your advisor more than once a semester. A lot of times students will meet with their advisor just at registration time. They'll go in and say, okay, I think I've got my next semester lined up. Can you pass me off and get the blocks off or whatever else I need to do so I can register for my classes? You really should establish a relationship with your advisor, because that relationship doesn't just help you register for classes, but they can really help you with the projects that you have to do throughout your education. They can tell you about internships or employment opportunities or cool research projects that you might be able to be a part of. And so having a good relationship with your advisor can really advance you personally and educationally. So I really encourage that. Another thing that you should really try to do, which I'm sure you're already doing, and that is get to know your fellow students. Again, a great source of information, a great resource for you. If you're looking at, problems that you're facing in your classes, things that you need help with, I can almost guarantee, well, I can guarantee there's someone in the College of Engineering who has had that class, has gotten through it, and can help you. And one of the best places to meet students is in the student lounge. Who here has been to the student lounge? And Idaho Falls, can raise your hand because I can see you too. Go ahead. Raise them high so I can see. Only a few of you. Okay, that's what I thought. I have students that have said to me that I have been in the College of Engineering for 2 or 3 years and I didn't even know we had a student lounge. And it's really unfortunate because you guys have a student lounge. The faculty do not have a student lounge, or have a student lounge. They don't have a lounge at all. And so take advantage of that. In the lounge you have, of course, a huge study area. There's a couple of computers. There are lockers that you can rent and put your books or whatever else in so you're not packing them all over campus. There's a microwave, a refrigerator. You can put your lunch in those things. That's for you guys entirely 100%. The faculty don't even really go in there. And so take advantage of that. It's nice because not only do you meet other students in the college, but it's a great place to again say, I'm having a hard time with this question in civil engineering, and who knows who can help me work this out. And most likely there'll be someone in there who can. Or the student organizations often make announcements as far as when they're getting together or doing activities. And so, again, it's a great place to get that information. And sometimes it's just a nice place to hang out. It's just kind of a fun, relaxed area to study. It's not as quiet and uptight as the library, but yet there's still studying that happens there. So I would encourage you using that resource as well, because that is for you, and I do think it's incredibly underutilized. Usually when I walk past there, there's only a few students in there. And our lockers are incredibly underutilized. I think they only have 5 or 6 lockers rented out this semester. So again, if you want to do that, let me know. I rent those, and you can just pack your stuff away and have a little place to call home on campus. As far as student organizations go, I've kind of mentioned that I work with the student organizations, that they get together, they do activities. Another thing I want to give you as far as advice, and that is to get involved with the student organizations. When I say get involved, that doesn't mean pay your dues and then call it good enough. Get the free stuff and then you're done. Really get involved. Really use it to your advantage. It's a great resume builder, but really, does it build your resume if all you did was pay your dues and then leave it and don't do anything with it? No, it really helps you if you get involved with the activities that they have available. And they really do a lot of things. They might have competitions that they will attend. For example, IEEE, which is the electrical engineering and computer science, students often participate in that as well. It's the student organization related to that. They just recently, about a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, had an extreme programming challenge. And it was open to all engineering students, but they sponsored that, put that on, and a lot of the participants were probably from that group as well. The civil engineers, they participate in ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers. And every spring, they go to a national, is it a national competition, the steel bridge? I think it is. Even still, I think that they just participate in the Pacific Northwest division of that competition. And they have to design and build a steel bridge to take to that competition every spring. It's a lot of fun. It's a huge event for them. They design it, they build it, and they take it to the event. And part of the event is that they have to reconstruct the bridge as quickly as they can. And ISU has, I think, I heard that it was in 6 minutes, was able to put their bridge together one year. There is one of the years that they built their bridge, that bridge is currently put together in the lobby of the engineering building if you want to look at that. We have other student organizations. I'm going to look at my list so I don't forget. We have ANS. They've come in and spoken with you, the American Nuclear Society. ASME has also come in here and given a presentation, and that's the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. NSPE, that's the National Society of Professional Engineers. That's the student chapter. And this semester, we had such low interest that there isn't really a group going. And it should be one of our largest, just because any studying engineer can go into that group. And so that's another one I would encourage you to get involved with. SWE, which is the Society of Women Engineers, and finally Tau Beta Pi, which is our honor society for engineering. And that one, of course, has requirements to be involved with. But again, if you're doing well in your studies, that's another group you can be involved with. So they do the conferences as well as competitions. They also have barbecues, some fun things to get involved with. And they help me with some of the events that I will plan, and I'll talk about that. Well, actually right now, I guess that's my next point. National Engineers Week. Every year in February, we have National Engineers Week. And it's kind of a big deal for engineers in general, but in the College of Engineering, we try to make it something that we truly do celebrate and try to educate others about engineering, especially other high school students. Try to celebrate engineering in general, because as a whole, there aren't a lot of engineers in the country, so it's kind of nice to have that time when you can publicize yourselves and get out there what you do and what you're interested in. So for National Engineers Week, we often invite other area high schools to ISU, to the campus here. The student organizations that I just mentioned will sponsor a competition. For example, IEEE does an electric car. ASME does a mousetrap car. SWE, they sponsor an edible car. So the car is entirely made of food. And I think that this year, the bridge competition, which has normally been the popsicle stick bridge competition, ASCE will sponsor it as the spaghetti bridge because of the practice that was done in this class. So that was actually a trial to see if we could use that for our competition this year. Anyway, I really do rely heavily on volunteers during that time. It's a lot of fun because there's a lot of students that come. There's a lot of interaction with the high school students, with other faculty members, and with professionals. We usually have a lunch. And so when I say get involved, I really hope that you would volunteer with something like that also, because I always rely on a lot of volunteers to help with those activities. All right, finally, I just want to go through the internships again, kind of build on what Troy talked about when he was talking about the Career Center. The Career Center is definitely the first source that I would always recommend as far as talking or going for an internship. But you should know a couple of things about internships. First of all, there are paid and there are unpaid internships. I would say, and Troy, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, that the majority of them are paid, especially in engineering. I've only been here a little over a year, but I have yet to see an unpaid internship in engineering. So if it happens, it's probably pretty rare. Is that right?
I normally wouldn't pass an unpaid one on to you.
Okay.
These guys really should be doing it.
I agree. I just put that out there so that if you see one, I'm not considered a liar. But for the most part, they are paid. And so.
Too much with the unpaid. It's not that I don't pass it on to you. I mean, I don't really even consider them many kind of
Okay.
for engineering.
Absolutely. And the only reason really why I mention that is because you might stumble across one on your own research in internships, and you also just need to know that those exist, because that's one of the other ways that I'll get into is for how you can find internships, that you just might stumble on those, and you'll need to know that there's two kinds. The other thing you need to know about internships is that some people think I have to be a senior and graduating to have an internship. And that's not true. I have seen internships for freshmen and sophomore, mostly for juniors and seniors, but you don't have to be graduating to have an internship. It is something that is generally offered during the summer. There are some that let you work part-time on an internship while you are going to school, and so you can do both during the school year. But don't just all of a sudden count yourself out because you think that you aren't far enough in school yet. Always check out internship opportunities so that you can check to see what's available to you. And really, truly, I would encourage you, as would the faculty, during your summers, look for an internship every year that you can, because that really builds your opportunities when you go to get a job after you've graduated. It builds your experience, it builds your connections and your networking. A lot of times internships can lead into permanent employment. Also, I will say that the internships are decently paid, and so it is worth looking into an internship because it will work to actually provide you with some income that's decent for the level of education and experience that you have. Okay, so 4 ways that you can get an internship. The Career Center, because you can register with the Career Center, have your resume on file with them. Make sure that your resume, and I love that they have this service at the Career Center, they help you with your resume writing. Make sure that it's updated, that it's good, and that it constantly reflects the changes that are happening in your education. So as you're adding new classes and you're doing new things to increase your experience, then you should update your resume as well. It should always be, it's not something that you write and then leave alone. It is something that you constantly are updating and changing and making it work for you. And so if you have any questions how to do that, the Career Center is a great resource. Also, and I think this is probably not the common experience, but it's a possibility also that if an employer calls and wants to find someone to fill an internship, if your resume is on file, they can search for you and find the qualities and characteristics that the employer is looking for and match you with them. And that can save you some time. So you kind of have someone working on your side when it comes to looking for employment and for internships. The other thing you can do is that often if I know about it at an internship, I will email you. And I have access to all of your emails. And you may have seen emails from me already, but I can email you whenever there's a new internship so that you know about that, and then you can then get on your way to apply for those internships. The third thing you can do is that walk through the building in engineering. This one's really easy, the engineering building, and look to see what's posted. I know that the Career Center has a bulletin board on the second floor of the engineering building, and they update those postings that are just hanging right there on the bulletin board to make sure that it's updated and accurate as far as the internships available. And then also there are other bulletin boards throughout the building, and we have internships posted there as well. The fourth thing you can do is you can look for, and I've already talked about this, you can look for internships yourself. You would look for them just like you would look for any other kind of employment opportunity. You can go to a company that you're interested in working for, looking in their employment section to see if they have an internship available that you would be interested in or that you could possibly participate in. And so there's a lot to be said for doing a search on your own, because there's a lot of resources out there that don't necessarily come to ISU. They don't call the College of Engineering, they don't call the Career Center, but you can find those resources by doing your own research, and it can be really valuable to you, especially if you are targeting an industry or a company. And again, as long as your information is updated, your resume is good, then you can just apply for those jobs just like you would any other kind of employment. Internships are not very different from regular employment. They often go through the same application and interview process. So as long as you know what that is, you should be successful. So, all right, that's all I really had to say. Any questions? Okay, I was going to leave my contact information, my email. I don't know. Should I write it up here? I've never used this before. It's a little bit frightening. I need to switch to the Elmo. I don't know how to do that. Okay. My email address is just the typical ISU address. dancemary@isu.edu. And my extension, if you need to call me. And you can stop by. My office is in the main office in the engineering building on the second floor. I think it's 214, my room number, something like that. Never really have to give that out. So you're welcome to email, call, or stop by if you have any questions or if you need help with anything. All right.
Well, thank you, Miriam. Also, thanks to Troy. Maybe we can switch back to the PowerPoint. I just have a few slides. I will go through it. But again, to summarize, there are a lot of opportunities available in the engineering and computer science. But I'm sure Miriam mentioned, like, you have to see your advisor. When you meet with the advisor, you see this four-year plan, like 8 semesters to go to engineering degrees is not easy, but once you go through it, then of course there are good results. You can, even with the bad job market, there are many opportunities available for engineers. Of course, the job cycles always go up and down, but normally a job as an electrical engineer will kind of guarantee some stability, because no matter what, everybody will need electric power as well as electronics and so forth. What I want to do, I want to quickly go through some of these. I know we have about maybe 10-15 minutes left. Quickly go through some of these slides. By the way, anytime you have any question, either Pocatello or either Fall, please stop me and ask questions. And then, as I said, beginning Wednesday, Kenyon will be here. Also, we'll have some other people coming. I think we have one speaker, Gart Black, coming from National Instruments from Salt Lake City. So there will be some people that are outside the ISU. This, as I said, is about electrical engineering and computer science. And of course, here we are talking about the undergraduate degree, but some of the, let's say you go work for a company, they may send you back to get a master's degree. For example, there was a talk about ON Semiconductor. I have one of my master's students, Stephen Hunter, works for ON Semiconductor. Obviously, the company will pay for his expenses, thanks to Kentroy, to come back and get a master's degree. We have also a PhD, which is in engineering as well as with applied science. One of our faculty members just graduated 2 or 3 PhD students working in the area of control systems. But of course, here we are talking about basically the undergraduate program. Typically speaking, every undergraduate program, whether you're mechanical, nuclear, computer science, EE, civil, requires 130 semester hours, which of course is distributed among 8 semesters. On average, every semester you may take 15, 16 hours. But almost all engineering programs, they also end with a senior design project. Like this course is an introductory course, but of course, at the senior level, before you graduate, you do a design project of your own choice to build something, some kind of biomedical device or some kind of useful device or system for a transportation application. Of course, here I'm talking about electrical engineering, computer science, and these are the kind of jobs available in the design, manufacturing, service, teaching, research, planning, kind of jobs that they do when they graduate as electrical engineer, computer science major, as well as computer engineer, as well as some other engineers. For example, when you talk about design, manufacturing, that involves more than just electrical engineers. In engineering, a lot of work is done by a teamwork. You may have a mechanical engineer, nuclear engineer, electrical engineer in one team. As you will see in your senior design project, which is a course you will take during the last year. By the way, I kind of prepared some slides, but I will not have time. But if you're interested, I can also email you these. This may be a little big file because there are a lot of graphics involved in this. But as far as electrical engineering itself is a very big area, very big field. Of course, if you're adding computer science, computer engineering, it will become even larger field. But in case of electrical engineering, I've already mentioned electronics, control systems. For example, when you're flying, this Friday I'm going to fly to Los Angeles, all the planes they cannot function without control systems, so those are very, very important. Instrumentation, communication, I have already mentioned power engineering, power systems, power electronics, telecommunication, communication, cell phones, satellite communication, radar. These are all embedded in the box here called communications. But anyway, this is what electrical engineering is all about, or computer science, computer engineers. This is kind of another slide with a little bit more graphics. What kind of areas they can specialize. As electrical engineer or as a computer scientist, you can specialize in different areas within electrical engineering, within computer science. For example, one of the areas in my own area is the signal processing, DSP. As you talk on the cell phone, there are a lot of DSP chips on the cell phones, digital signal processing, and that's one area you can specialize, as well as computers, microcomputers, microprocessors. And this is just talking about our engineering program as well as our computer science program. You may have already heard about this organization called ABET, Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. For example, when you're a doctor, your degree is accredited by the American Medical Association. In the case of engineering, the organization that accreditates all the engineering programs as well as the computer science program is called ABET. If you want more information about Accreditation Board Engineering and Technology, they have also a website. The reason I mentioned this ABET, our portion of the 120 class is going to measure one of what they call student outcomes. The student outcomes or program outcomes, after you finish your 4 years, you are going to have certain abilities, you are going to have certain skills. And nationwide, there are 11 outcomes called program outcomes, student outcomes, A through K. One of those outcomes which is what is assigned to the double E part, is called triple L, lifelong learning. Basically, what lifelong learning is all about is that learning doesn't stop when you leave the university. You continue. Lifelong learning is also known as continuing education. So that's the reason you're going to be given some assignment, go do some research, go to the library, go on the internet, find topic, smart grid, magnetic levitation, because we cannot just say, well, I'm going to limit myself to 50 minutes in the class. All I'm learning is only 50 minutes in the class. Outside the class, even after you graduate, that's called lifelong learning. But it's very difficult to measure lifelong learning, but that is one of the outcomes specified by this organization called ABET. By the way, there are 4 different commissions. We are interested in the Engineering Accreditation Commission as well as computing, if you're a computer science major. Otherwise, all the other engineering majors are under the so-called EAC. And if you were around the campus in 2007, we had a visit by ABET. Our next visit is going to be 2011, and I'm sure most of you will be still here, 2011. Normally they come in the October of 2011. We'll have visitors coming from other universities to look at our program as part of the ABET visit. Why we worry about ABET? If you graduate from ISU, some employers may ask you, we know you have civil engineering degree from ISU or electrical engineering degree from ISU. Is that program accredited by ABET? And I will say whether, of course, in our cases, yes, but if you're from other university, you say no, that may affect your employment because normally to be recognized, the program should be accredited by ABET. And this is kind of nationwide, is now more than nationwide. For example, there are some international schools that are seeking ABET accreditation. But again, there's not enough time. I'm going to maybe go to almost the last slide. I was going to mention a little bit about the grading policy because that usually people, they ask us, how do you grade this portion of the course? There are, in the double E part, again, Kenyon will talk more about this one beginning on Wednesday. There are several things that it will be doing. Weekly summary reports I mentioned earlier, there will be 3 of these reports because there are 3 weeks. Then at the end, again, Kenyon will give you a deadline for that. You will choose a topic, current topic in electrical engineering. I mentioned biomedical area, smart grid, magnetic levitations. You can go on the internet. Another one I forgot to mention, also Miriam mentioned IEEE. There's another website, IEEE.org. If you go to the website, IEEE.org, it will give you more information about electrical engineers, computer engineers, electronics engineers, as well as computer scientists. But don't go to IEEE and ask about civil engineers. They will have no information about civil engineers. But then by your own choice, you choose a topic and you make a presentation. Unfortunately, there are about 100 students in the class. Only 50-minute class time is difficult to make presentation in the class by the students. So instead, imagine you're presenting in the class, but give us your PowerPoint presentation. I don't know whether, Kenyon, you will accept PDF or should be PowerPoint. And Kenyon's email, your email address, can either follows us here, is heartkenny at okay. So on Wednesday you will have lectures by Kenyon. I forgot to mention, is Todd there in Idaho Falls?
Yes, I am.
And Todd will be in Idaho Falls responsible for collecting the information from Idaho Falls and send it to us. And let me see if there are any questions. This is my email address also here. And again, the way the ISU system works, the first 4 letters of your last name, first 4 letters of your first name. Otherwise, I just want to conclude. One other thing I forgot to mention when Troy was talking about on semiconductor, actually it's down the hall, room number 7. This Friday, 1 o'clock, we have Dr. Li Sheng. He's a scientist for on semiconductor. He will be coming, talking about more about what on electronics is going to do. He was talking to me about his topic, like electronic nose or something. But if you're interested in his topic, I can also email you his presentation. Will be Friday, 1 o'clock, room number 7. Other than that, we are approaching the end of the class. Are there any questions for me? If not, we'll see you again here on Wednesday. Kenyon will be here and lecturing on Wednesday. Thanks all for coming.